an apology. Although those tweets became a huge national story, I thought eventually everything would return to normal and I wouldn't be trending on Twitter for days. But almost a month later, I was back in trouble for something I had tweeted about Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones regarding his public threat to his players if any of them took a knee during the national anthem to protest racial injustice. This time, Trump did tweet about me, and not surprisingly, he couldn't resist being juvenile and petty. With Jemele Hill at the mic, it is no wonder ESPN ratings have tanked. In fact, tanked so badly, it is the talk of the industry. On the bright side, he spelled my name right. Trump tweeting about me blew my life up. Suddenly, I was being discussed on every major network. A barrage of think pieces were written about me as people debated if I, as a Black woman, was being treated unfairly. And in the age of Trump, was it even realistic to expect journalists to be neutral about a president who constantly attacked the media and repeatedly called reports about his corruption and unethical and boorish behavior fake news? By the time I got to Orlando for Thanksgiving, I had pretty much decided I was leaving ESPN and was plotting my exit strategy. But when I told my mother that I wanted to leave, I didn't get the reaction I expected at all. I had wanted my mother's full support. Eventually, that came, but it wasn't there at the onset. I didn't like my job as a SportsCenter host, and when I told her why, it felt like she didn't hear me at all. "We don't let anybody run us off our job," she said, using an "ain't that right, girl" kind of tone, but I wasn't in a kikiing mood. Of course, I expected my mother to be practical because Black folks usually don't have the luxury of walking away from jobs like the one I had. I just didn't expect that she would not only ignore my feelings, but also accuse me of being brainwashed. "Don't let those people use you for their cause because you don't owe them anything," she had said. I wondered immediately who she thought those people were. Did she mean Black people? As in the same Black people who were speaking out in support of me all over social media and were a huge reason I still had a job at ESPN? For my mother to suggest I was a puppet was not only hurtful, it was outright offensive. I was keenly aware that a deeper and larger struggle was taking place in this country that was way beyond my verbal spat with Trump. Black people were fighting every damn day for survival, freedom, and empowerment. As much as Trump inspired racists to be unrepentant, the feelings he stoked had been there since this country was born. I felt intrinsically connected to that struggle because it's impossible to be Black in America without feeling that way unless you actively and willfully choose not to. I wanted to use my platform to make things better, not because I felt pressured to do so, but because it was my duty. My criticisms of the president were just an extension of the reason I became a journalist in the first place. It may sound corny or naive, but I believe deeply in the journalistic credo that journalists are supposed to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. My mother, however, interpreted my passionate pushback against her view of my situation as anger that stemmed from something that extended beyond the current moment. She did not understand that almost nothing triggers me more than when people try to tell me who I am. In general, Black women hate being described as angry. If we're not in the mood to be accommodating, if we want room to be unapologetic and stand on our principles, then people view that as anger. Instead, we're really just exercising our right to avoid nonsense. I had drawn a boundary with my mother, and we know how much mothers hate those, especially when these boundaries are drawn by their own children. I know my mother meant well, but I needed her support more than her pragmatism. As my mother and I argued, there was this small, niggling whisper in the back of my mind. What if she's right? What if there is some vat of anger deep inside of me that I'd overlooked all these years? Chapter 1. Somewhere between Boardwalk and Park Place. My mother's favorite story to tell about me is the day I was born. It's also my favorite story to hear her tell about me, in part because she tells it with such joy. But I can't